Hi there.
Hi there.
Sonia and Michael from the Urban Homestead Academy. Today's food security talk, we just wanted to share just a little snapshot really of some of the reports that we've been reading about that show some of the volatility of what's happening with food chain globally and nationally. And so we've just got some articles that we're just going to share with you. And look, this is just a tiny snippet of some of the reports that we've been coming across. But it's good to know what's happening globally, which I suppose for us helps motivate us to keep growing food locally.
There's a saying that goes something like, to be forewarned is to be forearmed. And often as we look at what's happening around the world in the area of food security, we look at some of these articles that we're going to look up now, and it's a warning to us to be prepared, to be more food secure ourselves, and just to be aware of what's going on in general.
Yeah.
So what's the first article?
All right. So the first article we've got is about the bird flu outbreak, and that's resulted in the egg production in the US plunging to a 7-year low. And I will say that these articles we're going to show are just quite recent, the last few months, what we're seeing. So the avian influenza has already impacted more than 37 million birds across 34 US states, and it's sent the production of eggs tumbling and the price at the supermarkets soaring.
Yeah, absolutely. The prices are going up a lot.
Yeah, and they had a report here that in April alone, they saw the egg prices jump 23% from the month before. That's huge.
That's massive, isn't it?
23% in 1 month.
Yeah, and it talks about egg prices could rise even more as producers fail to meet increased demand as supplies tighten.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's in this case it's a pandemic of avian flu that's actually causing a reduction in the number of actually egg-laying birds.
Yeah, definitely.
And that obviously impacts it down the chain. You got less eggs at the supermarket, less eggs to buy.
Yep, or they're going to cost you a fortune.
Or they're going to cost an absolute arm and leg to buy, yeah.
And this one follows on from this, so turkeys as well.
Turkey, okay.
So a top US food processing company warned of an upcoming shortage of its turkey products at supermarkets. This is linked obviously to the worst, this flu outbreak, bird flu outbreak. And they've got Thanksgiving. When's Thanksgiving in America? November? Yeah, so turkey's very popular at that time. So they're saying similar to what they experienced in 2015. This bird flu is expected to have a big, meaningful impact on poultry supplies over the coming months.
And the other thing that needs to be kept in mind with when you cull large amounts of birds, especially we're talking about hundreds and thousands in the millions, is it takes a long time to get production back online again.
Yes.
It's not. When you're breeding animals, it's not like you can actually just 1 week you cull a herd and 2 weeks later you're back at full supply again. It takes months and sometimes years to recover from that. So.
Yes, yeah, definitely. In this report, they also talk about large supply gaps beginning in the third quarter. What else was there? So the bird flu was detected in America in the mid-February. And more than 38 million birds in 35 states have died. And you look at that, where it's actually impacted. Look at Minnesota, South Dakota. Wow, that's huge, isn't it? And so, as you said, it's decreasing the number of egg-laying hens, and it's sending the egg prices, through the roof. And the price of chicken meat.
Obviously, it's just going to be very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And if you can get hold of chicken and turkey at all,
yes,
which is probably more likely the scenario, you just won't be able to buy it.
Yes, and that's probably why the backyard chickens are so popular, isn't it? People just have their own little chickens.
On the homestead here, we want to breed more of our own chickens,
we do, yes. We've got 7 chickie babies at the moment, and we want to increase that. So
it's one thing about if you're rearing your own livestock, for instance chickens, and you're away from everywhere else. I mean, generally speaking, they're very, very healthy, aren't they? And you can just keep on eating eggs or meat indefinitely if you've got your own.
Yeah.
So you're not sort of at the whim of the market forces when it comes to what's happening at the moment with the culling of all these millions of birds.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, the next one is a report of a 100-year-old Prosser grain silo going up in flames. So this was recently as well. So that was a M&E Seed and Grain Co. with fires actually demolished the whole silo there, so that was pretty big. They're saying the grain elevator exploded. Yeah, so that's pretty old grain elevator there. And they mentioned down here, the facility was used for some other things, had been converted, but they were still using it for walk-ins, cover crops, seed orders, and livestock feed deliveries. So,
and there's been a massive spate of fires in North America, processing factories and distribution centres and chicken farms and egg farms and meat plants. And one report said there's been nearly 100 over the last year or so. So obviously you get so many processing plants and farmers growing chickens. If they're all burning down, that's going to have a massive impact,
huge impact
on food security.
Yeah.
That's something to be very much aware of. And
has a flow-on effect, doesn't it? Because it takes a long time to rebuild, restock.
I mean, often we talk about impacts on food security, such as the price of fuel or inflationary impacts or supply chain impacts. But when you have things like this that probably most people are unaware of, like 100 fires right in the heartland of where food is coming from.
That's all over the world too, I think, isn't it? Like but America's had a lot. Yes.
North America's had a lot just in a short space of time. And then you combine that with the other one we're talking about, avian flu.
Yes.
And these are some of the things that you don't often think about in terms of food security, but it has a massive impact. Maybe not just straight away, but certainly over like a 6 to 12 month period down the track, it has a huge impact.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, our next one that we're looking at is here. This was at a food manufacturing facility. So there's been a few fires. This one was Festive Foods, quite a recent one. So multiple fire departments were fighting that fire there, and they were just saying, devastating for the company to sit and watch, what they'd built, put so many years into, just went up in flames.
Obviously, there's been a lot, so it was just one or two we probably wouldn't have mentioned it, but because there's been so many, we just wanted to bring it to your attention. That's why we should all be growing our own food, at least trying to grow some of our own food.
Devastating. All right, and the meat industry, this one's chickens actually dying in the fire as well. So this was the Wright County egg farm fire, so massive flames burned down the barn.
This was only a couple of weeks ago. Wasn't it?
Caused major damage, tens of thousands of chickens, poor little things in the barn. Burned to death. Tragic accident, and they were saying that this particular farm was selling more than 3 million eggs a day.
Eggs a day, that's just one farm. And you multiply that by dozens and dozens of farms similar that have been burnt down over the last year or so, and especially over the last few months. It's going to have a huge impact in the North American food chain.
Yeah, definitely. Here's another one. So this is in Kansas. Thousands of cattle reported dead. Heat stress kills. This was 10,000 plus, they estimate. And this was very recent. This was only last week. 10,000 plus heads of cattle. They were in a feedlot, and they were saying that the heat just got that hot, and that basically they all died. And I saw video footage of it, and it was quite traumatic, really. It was just row upon row, and looked like all the cattle had just dropped dead on the spot. So the final death numbers to be counted. The temperatures were over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and they were saying it was a perfect storm of just too much heat, and there wasn't cooling, and obviously the cattle got overheated and died from the stress. But 10,000 plus cattle in one lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very, very tragic.
Yeah, huge. Okay, and the last clip I was just going to show was Australia, our probably the worst floods that we've ever had. I think in record floods back in 2019, where we lost a lot of cattle.
Yeah, absolutely, yes, like hundreds of thousands of cattle, not just a few hundred or a few thousand, but hundreds of thousands of cattle. It basically flooded most of the northern Queensland.
Yes.
And these are obviously beef cattle. So when you take that amount of food out of the system, that's a massive impost on food security. And obviously also, like we're talking about with the chickens, obviously it takes a long time to breed up animal stock.
Yes.
And they've lost a lot of their breeding stock, a lot of their herds are gone.
Yes.
So that's going to flow into the system in the years to come.
Yes.
Yes, so it's so a lot of these things, such as animal diseases, climatic events, are all things that we don't necessarily think about impacting food security.
Unexpected fires.
Unexpected fires in processing plants.
In grain silos.
Just another reason why we all need to be a little bit more food secure.
Yes.
Definitely. At a personal level.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, so that's just some articles of just things that we've been reading and that we've been noticing it for a while. But we looked over the last couple of months of articles, and like I said, that's just a very, very small snapshot of the actual articles and the reports that are coming out from around the world about, some of the vulnerabilities in the food chain. Thought you might be interested to have a look, and certainly I know for us, this is what motivates us to get out in the garden every day, doesn't it? And
absolutely, we
keep growing our food.
Just about to head down to some of our raised beds and pick a couple of cabbages and things like that. So it just gives you peace of mind. You look at some of these articles and you think, wow, but we're not dependent upon the actual natural food chain as it exists now.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, that we are food secure at a personal level. So we would encourage you to be food secure at a personal level as well.
Yeah, great. All right, well that's it from us today. We'll see you in the next video.
See you next time.
Okay, bye.